Hey guys, Pat here from Run Country. God is good all the time. Well, the biggest sin with these mills is that they don't get run enough and they sit around. I've only got 183.6 hours on this mill and have a couple little problems. So the down function on the Acuset stopped working the other day. So I called up Wood-Mizer and they sent me out one to replace it. I don't know if you guys have ever replaced these before, but here's what they look like on the backside. There's a film back here. You peel this off and you stick it right on the face of this existing framework of this metal. Well, the other day I took this off of here, but I thought I'd go ahead and, if you guys are experiencing the same problems, I have a couple little cracks here. This everything works except for this down function right here. So you can't program it, or you really can't function with it. So anyway, with the plate actually still mounted, you know, to the Acuset, the mainframe, I took a nice square putty knife and worked underneath this and got this peeled up. And so then that popped off like that. That's what you feel when you're pushing the buttons, and this metal contact completes the circuit for that function. So the one thing you have to keep in mind is you have this coming up at a 90-degree angle, and then it slips back through into the circuit boards on the back side of this plate. So it's critical when you're going through the motions of taking and peeling this off, you want to make sure that you kind of do this part right in here last. So coming up from the corners and around, and you know, kind of start to peel it up. Whatever tool you can use to peel that up, it's stuck on there really good. And then I came in from each side, come up from the bottom, and once I got close to this area right here, I know that ribbon is there. You don't want to bend that. I finally just got this to peel off, and actually this was all together. I just stuck this on here just to show you guys how it looks when it's stuck on there. This is just the membrane, obviously for the push button functions. You can hear that. That's what's making the sound when you're pushing these buttons. But you gotta be really careful. I guess it's okay to mess up the old one, that's just the new one. But I want to be I still want to be careful, because that ribbon goes back in there and it plugs in, obviously, to the circuit boards on the back side. And the reason why I did this on the mill is to give this stability. A nice firm surface with this bolted together. Instead of taking it off of here and then trying to get it off, I thought it would be a lot easier just to take it off while it's mounted on the mill. So, and obviously I took the 8 number 2 Phillips screws out, and there's also behind this is actually supposed to be plugged in too. That goes right in back here. Took this and peeled this back, and we also have a foam, kind of a double sticky type foam, or one-sided sticky foam, on the back side of this plate. There's a release right here, and this is actually stuck on there pretty good. That makes a really good seal. So looks like pretty good quality stuff. I've seen moisture in these before, especially in mine, because I live in rain country, and I'm pretty impressed with it. I do keep it covered with a canvas but moisture, humidity around here, it just happens. So now that this thing is totally detached, I mean, I suppose it would be even apropos to get in between this top piece and the circuitry for the buttons, and that way you can leave this intact and not put any stress or strain on it. Once you get this off of here, you could probably just, you know, probably even just cut it right here, but I don't want to score that with a knife. So anyway, what I did is I just peeled all this back and kind of got everything exposed. This is still really sticky. Now, in order to clean up the residue on here, I'm going to use acetone. Acetone should break that down. We're going to find out. So we'll take us over to the box truck and we'll see if we can get this new part mounted on here. I couldn't remember what the name of this thing was earlier. It's a membrane switch for the Acuset 2, and part number 052874. This is a 2012 LT50 super hydraulic mill from Wood-Mizer. So it looks like we have some little Teflon nuts to holding this on, holding these circuit boards together. So far I can just remove them by hand. Looks like about 3/16, or I think I'm going to have to get a wrench for this one. So that's a 5mm. Okay, here's where the old one unplugs. We'll go ahead and remove this, set this aside so we can turn this over and clean the face. Okay, I think I'm going to take this outside where it's got a little more fresh air and take some acetone and see if that'll eat the old sticky off of there. If you put acetone on paint too long, it's going to eat your paint, so you got to keep that in mind. We don't want to go down to the metal on this stuff. That stuff is pretty gummy. I'm not even sure you needed acetone. Just roll it off of there with your thumb like I'm doing. That seems to be working pretty good. And if there's any residue left over, you can rub on it. I suppose you could do your final cleaning with a little bit of acetone. You definitely don't want dirt on there. No dirt, no grease. I think I want to avoid touching this screen. It actually comes off better this way than it does with the acetone. The acetone just makes it, just kind of breaks it down and makes it more gummy. And this spot on this corner over here and this right up in here, it's got a little residue left over, so we'll have to work the rest of that off with the acetone. So hindsight, I would not have used the acetone to start with. I would have done it this way and then used acetone just to basically degrease it and take off any residue that was left, might be left over from the adhesive. But this stuff seems to be coming off pretty nicely this way. I'm definitely going to try not to get acetone on the screen. Oh, that works really well. Now this paint doesn't seem to be adversely reacting to the acetone, but I've used acetone on certain paints and it wants to take it right off. There's a little bit there, but usually it comes off beforehand. But I do have my towel's just a little bit dry, so the drier you have your cloth or your towel, the less effect it has on it. I'm just trying to make sure that I preserve the paint on here. Now when I'm handling this, I'm trying to handle it on the outside, so I'm not trying not to touch the area that the adhesive is going to have to do its work on. Okay, we're back in the shop per se, in the shop truck. I'm trying to be careful not to touch any of the glue area or the adhesive area. Just touching the edge. This is going to have to be turned around before I make a mistake. Okay, now the trick is to try to center the guy. I guess it doesn't have to be perfect, but get it as right as we can. I'm going to start from the center. Typically when you do something like this, you start from the center and you work out, try to work out any bubbles from the center out. I'm going to keep working this in. Just make sure all of the adhesive is making contact with the back side of this membrane. The keypad. Just taking the back side of my fingernail and pressing down, rubbing this all in here, rubbing this down really good so we can maximize our pressure between the switch membrane and the hard surface there. What are you doing? What'd you find? Did you find a squirrel out there? You were harassing squirrels? Did you get the squirrel? Did you get him? Everybody's got a job to do. And Cody's is to harass the wildlife around here. Okay, I think that's pretty thorough. Now it's time to put things together. On the back side, notice there's a wire pinched back here. So I'll have to make sure that that doesn't happen when I put it back together again. This comes up and around and plugs back into that 8-pin J10. And one thing you have to keep in mind, at least I do, is right there behind where that threaded post comes up, the ribbon seems to want to interfere with that. So you got to watch for that. Now back to these little Teflon nuts to go on here. These things are easy to cross thread, so you got to be careful there. And the guy really should be replacing this. I did go down to the store yesterday and I bought some this mounting tape. So I don't know if I want to take a look at this. This looks like it might be something similar, but instead of 3/8 or 1/2 inch, it's like 3/4 to 1 inch. It looks like it's the same stuff. Good choice. I think I do want to take that off of there. Pull this off nice and slow. It comes off a lot easier. So now we'll take it back outside and give it another wipe down with some acetone. So I had mentioned earlier that this was the part number, but I think this is the part number here. It's P000584-249. That's the same number up here, but I think that's more like a serial number. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, I'm going to put it on this inside of here. And I'm going to write a date on here as to when it was changed out. Now I'm just using a drill bit the same size as the screw hole. and just punching out these coupons. When I go to screw all this together, I don't have the screws having a difficult time penetrating this hole and tearing the tape on the backside or spinning it, thus creating a potential area for a leak. So if I clear those holes, when that screw comes up tight against this corner, it's not going to affect the tape. I come through on the back side where the tape is, because if I was to come in from this way, it's going to deform the tape on the back side of this panel. So I'm going to continue taking and punching all these out. That has a lot less impact doing it this way than it would if I was just to put the screws in and just push the screws through the tape. Well, now we're ready to install. Alright, looks like we have a little residue left on this side as well, so we're going to have to clean this off. Pretty sure it's supposed to come off of there. There we go. What's wrong? Huh? What's going on? What's going on with the dog? Yeah, so I forgot to plug the module in on the back side. I took this bottom panel off here because this seal isn't the same. It isn't constructed the same, and I don't know if it's supposed to be meant to take off more often than this one or not. This one here is pretty critical that it's watertight. Not that this panel here shouldn't be watertight as well, but they got a different seal on this one, and it's easier to take on and off. Going by braille here and seeing if I can't plug this guy back in. Okay, I heard it click. I also have an extra one of these rheostats in here, and this is for the feed speed. So if I ever have an issue with the feed control, because this potentiometer gets operated quite a bit, so it's a good potential area for failure. I also have extra switches, 2 extra parts to keep on hand, just in case something happens and I can't order them. Oh, look at there. We have an LED. It says 7 and 5/30. That looks about right where we're at. That's what we got on the scale back over here, is 7 and 5/30. So it looks like it's working. That's fantastic. We're back in business. So I'll go to manual. I'll take this down to 7 exactly. 7 1/16. Yeah, that's right on. Okay. Well, that's how you do that. Or anyway, that's how I did it. Seems to work, and working great. So anyway, I hope that helps somebody out. If nothing else, you kind of know what the guts of this thing looks like now, if you're ever wondering. So anyways, thanks for stopping by. Take care, and God bless.